Good morning, children. Today we're going to continue with more division. And guess what we're going to learn today? We're going to learn some word problems. That's going to be real interesting. Now let us see the first word problem, which is 4 students can sit at a desk. How many desks are needed for 64 children? So I have represented this with a picture. So on the right side, you can see what information has been given. We know that there are a total of 64 children. And what other information do we know? 4 students can sit at a desk. So we have a desk here, and at each desk only 4 children can sit. Now, what is the question that has been asked? How many desks are needed for these 64 children? So, what do? We know the total. We know how many students can sit at a desk. So, how do we find out the other number? We simply divide and find out the answer. So what would be the statement? Number of students or total number of students is equal to 64. Number of students that can sit at a desk is equal to 4. Number of desks needed for 64 children is equal to 64 divided by 4. Now let us divide 64 by 4 using the long division method. So 64 is the dividend and 4 is the divisor. So let's take the first number, which is 6. Is 6 divisible by 4? Yes, closest is 4 ones are 4. So the remainder, when you subtract 6 minus 4, you get 2. Then the next step is you bring down the 4. So it becomes 24. Do you stop here? No. You continue to divide 24 by 4. So 4 into what gives us 24? 4 6 are 24. And then again you subtract and you find the remainder, which is 0. So what is the quotient that you get? You get 16. So the number of desks needed for 64 children is 16. Let's see the second word problem here, which is a fruit seller bought 172 apples. He threw away 4 apples which were rotten. He packed the rest of the apples equally in 8 boxes. How many apples did each box have? So now let's take this question step by step and look for the information that has been given. So I have shown you in the picture over here. Here is an apple seller. So let's come again. How many apples did he have first? He went to a market and he bought 172 apples. So he had 172 apples. Of the 172 apples, he threw 4 away. Why? Because they were rotten. So he threw them in the dustbin. So what would be remaining when you take away 4 from 172? You get 168. Now, these remaining 168 were equally packed into 8 boxes as shown here in the picture. Now, what is the question? How many apples did each box have? So we know the total, we know a part, that is the number of boxes. We just need to find out how many apples goes into each box. So obviously we divide. Since the apples have been distributed equally into 8 boxes, it is called as equal sharing. So the first statement would be total number of apples is equal to 172. Number of rotten apples is equal to 4. So what do we have left over? That is the number of good apples to be packed is 172 minus 4, which gives 168. What else do we know? We know the number of boxes, which is 8. Number of apples in each box, yes, is equal to 168 divided by 8. So let's divide using the long division method. So 168 here is the dividend, which is going to be divided, and 8 is the divisor. So 8 into what gives us 16. 8 2s are 16. So you take 2 up, 16 comes down. Next step, you subtract both the numbers. 16 minus 16 gives 0. Next, get down 8 and again you divide 8 by 8. So 8 into 1 gives us 8. Again you subtract 8 minus 8 and the remainder that you get is 0. Do we have any other number to bring it down? No. So the quotient is 21 and the remainder is 0. So the quotient is the answer here. So how many apples goes into each box? Each box has 21 apples. Now let's see the third sum, which is the product of two numbers is 565. If one of them is 5, find the other. So if you can see the pictorial representation here, there are two numbers. When you multiply these two numbers, you get the product or the answer, that is 565. But they have given us that one of the number is 5, so we just need to find out the other number. We know that multiplication and division are opposites of each other. So how do you find out the other number in multiplication? You simply divide from the product. So let's see the statement. Product of two numbers is equal to 565. One number is equal to 5, that's been given to us. The other number, how do we find out? That is equal to 565 divided by 5. So let's divide 565 by 5. So we take 5 into what gives you 5? 5 ones are 5. So you put 1 on top, get down 5 down, and then subtract 5 minus 5, you get 0. Next, bring down the next number, which is 6. Again, you divide the 6 by 5. So 5 into what gives us 6? We cannot get that answer, but the very closest one is 5 ones are 5. So 5 ones are 5, and then you subtract 6 minus 5 is 1. Next, you have another number on top, so you bring down the 5. So 1 5 becomes 15. Is that all? No. We need to further divide this 15 and see by 5. So 5 into what gives us 15? 5 3s are 15. So 15 minus 15 would be 0. So the quotient we get is 113 and the remainder is 0. So here the quotient is the answer. So the other number that we found out is 113. Let's look at the fourth sum, which is a shopkeeper bought mathematics textbooks for class 3 for rupees 8,450. If each textbook costs rupees 10, how much or how many did he buy? So let's see what the information has been given. We know that the total amount that he bought for was rupees 8,450. And each textbook cost is rupees 10. So they are equal. Each textbook costs equally rupees 10, and the question is how many did he buy? So we know the total. We know that each textbook is the same price or the cost, which is rupees 10. All we need to find out is the other number, which is how many did he buy. So how do we find out? We simply divide it from the total. So total cost of mathematics books is equal to rupees 8,450. What other information do we know? We know that each textbook, so cost of each textbook is equal to rupees 10. What is the question they have asked? How many did he buy? Who bought? The shopkeeper. So we say number of books shopkeeper bought is equal to 8,450 divided by 10. So let's divide by the long division method. So 8,450 is the dividend that goes inside. 10 is the divisor that is outside. Now, so 10 into what gives us 80. We cannot take 8 as 8 is smaller than 10. So we take 8 for 84. So 10 into what will give you 84? The closest is 10 8s are 80. So you get 80 down, subtract 84 minus 80. So 4 minus 0 is 4. 8 minus 0 is 8 minus 8 is 0. Now next you bring down the next number, which is 5. So we have 45, and now you again divide 45 by 10. So 10 into what gives us 45? We cannot get 45, but the closest is 40. So 10 4s are 40. Next, you subtract 45 minus 40. So 5 minus 0 is 5 and 4 minus 0 is 4 minus 4 is 0. Next, you bring down the remaining 0, which is, so the number becomes 50. So 10 into what gives you 50? 10 5s are 50, and then you subtract 50 minus 50, you get 0. So what is the quotient we get? We get 845. So how many books did the shopkeeper buy? The shopkeeper bought 845 books for the amount he had. Now let's see one last sum, which is 530 boxes of fruits were loaded equally on 7 trucks. How many boxes were loaded in each truck? And how many boxes were left? Now, let us see the information that has been given. We know that there were a total of 430 boxes and they were equally shared in 7 trucks. So we know that it is equal sharing and we need to divide. What is the question they have asked? How many boxes were loaded in each truck and how many boxes were left? So we have 2 questions for this sum. So let us find out how to find out by using division method. Total number of boxes is 530. Number of trucks is 7. This is the information that has been given to us. What we need to find out first, number of boxes loaded in each truck is equal to 530 divided by 7. So let's divide 530 divided by 7. So since 5 is less than 7, we take 53. So 7 into what gives us 53? The closest number is 7 sevens are 49. Next step, subtract 53 minus 49. We cannot subtract 3 minus 9, so you borrow from 5. 5 becomes 4 and 3 becomes 13. 13 minus 9 gives you 4. Next step, bring down the 0 which is on top, so the number becomes 40. Now you again divide this 40 by 7. So what would be the closest one? 7 5s are 35. As 7 6 is 42, it is bigger than 40. We take 7 5s are 35. Then again subtract 40 minus 35. We cannot subtract 0 minus 5. So we borrow, 4 becomes 3, 0 becomes 10. 10 minus 5 is 5. 3 minus 3 is 0. So the remainder that we get is 5 and the quotient is 75. So we've got our 2 answers. That is, the number of boxes loaded in each truck is 75, whereas the number of boxes left, which is the remainder, is 5. Thank you, children.